Oh, think twice. It's just another season for you and me in paradise. We're back, and so is Paradise on Hulu/Disney Plus, dropping not one, not two, but 3 episodes. Why not? Like every other show this week, let's put out 3 episodes. And I'm so excited to talk about the first week of Paradise, all 3 episodes here with Chappell. Chappell, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I feel like I've been out of paradise for so long that
Mhm.
I need to get back in the bunker and kind of revisit some of the talking points we had from last season because we've taken a break away from this, and then they just threw all this paradise at us at one time.
Yes, but first off, you better not say I need a breath mint, okay? Right off the
Hey,
bat, you better
hey,
not. I won't appreciate it. But
no, I
the
need a
thing about
break.
Paradise, for a scripted show, and they deserve all of the credit for this, that they went away for 1 year,
Hmm.
not 10 years, not 5 years, not whatever, all these other shows, Game of Thrones, Euphoria. It's like that was 12 years ago was the last season. They took 1 year off, came right back, and here we are once again to talk about Paradise. And while I did forget a lot about Paradise, it all came back to me, and I'm excited to talk about 3 episodes of my favorite scripted TV show that's on right now, Paradise.
Yeah, it's a good one. I forgot how much I enjoyed it, but I think the journey throughout the episodes is the fun part, right? I don't know where
Mhm.
this is going.
Yeah,
It always feels very mysterious, like you're trying to put pieces together, but you don't really know what the puzzle is going to look like in the end. And so, yeah, it's so much fun to talk it through with you and to watch it and to watch other people speculate online because I've been seeing a lot of people talking about it.
good. Well, since we last left off, Paradise, we came into it a year ago. There was a lot of hype. We were looking for something to talk about. And I said, I watched the first episode. And then Chappelle, just being a good friend, I was like, hey, like, can we watch this show? It's not even on Netflix. Let's watch this program. And I
Mhm.
said, I love it. And then hopefully Chappelle actually likes it, wasn't just patronizing me the whole way through. But I loved season 1. And see, I didn't know if we were going to be able to get to season 2 this week because it airs in a week where we had the Survivor premiere. It's the Traitors finale. We talked about House of Villains this week. A million TV shows came out this week, but I'm so glad that we did because this was such an interesting start to a season of Paradise.
Yeah, I saw people sending messages. Are y'all going to talk about Paradise? Are you going to talk about Paradise? I'm like, look, it's a very busy time right now
It
in
was a
in
bad
TV.
week to
It's a
launch it
bad week to launch Paradise. Far
for
from
us.
Paradise here in the reality TV world, right? And so we got to it. We got to it,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that we did because you're right. We kind of hit the ground running here in season 2. We meet some new crazy characters, and we
Yeah.
kind of pick up some of the storylines that we left hanging at the end of season 1.
Yeah. So w- I want to do what we can here with Paradise. You know, I can't
3
promise
episodes.
every single week that we have time for it where I'm going to be traveling for the live shows and stuff like that. So it might be tricky to get to, but I love the show and I'd love to talk about it as much as possible with Chappelle. So let's just talk about what did happen and then we'll figure the rest out. Listen, like if this is, fly by night, you got to come up with, you have a perfect plan and then you do what you can. That's life in paradise.
Well, they throw us 3 episodes, and so we have a lot to cover in this one
Yes.
podcast anyway, right? We have flashbacks, we have another flashback, and then we have the present time in the actual bunker that we have to talk about. And we handle those almost in 3 different episodes. We're following 3
Yeah.
different storylines. We meet a new character, there we get her storyline, we catch up with Sinatra, and then of course we have to talk to Xavier as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way that this was structured. And I think it actually is very conducive to being able to talk about it all in one podcast. Unlike the Survivor 3 hour premiere, that a bunch of things happen that I'm like, how am I supposed to talk about all this? We get 3 very distinct, self contained episodes, really, where we have
Mhm.
our first episode, Graceland, where we end up really, it's almost like the first episode of a completely different show, almost like a Paradise spinoff that we spend the whole episode with Annie, which at first I was like, what are we even doing here? By the end, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. Then we had the all Xavier catch up episode, which was the second episode. probably my least favorite of the drop here this week. Is still, I thought it was very good, but probably of the three, I would rank them 1, 3, 2 in terms of the three that came out. And then the third episode ends up being more of our standard Paradise episode. We're back in the bunker. We're catching up with my beloved Sinatra and everything that's going on there. So, but three different stories that we get to talk about.
Yeah, I'm probably higher on episode 2 than you are, and higher probably on episode 3 too. I loved episode 3 because it felt like a return back to the paradise that we
Yes.
were we were spending so much time on. Episode 2 is very much the flashback of Xavier. It's the love story that's at the center of
Yeah,
this
it wasn't
show.
bad. I don't
You
want to
know?
like poo-poo it too much. I
Yeah.
just felt like that of the three, I felt like that it was honestly the love story and the flashback to Xavier I liked more than these freaking
Xavier
kids.
and the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just a wild little kind of side mission he's on. But that is the main mission, Rob. Xavier left the bunker last time. We knew he was gonna fly out of there. He did in the president's plane, and then it crashed. And so once he crashes, he's here trying to, first of all, fix his awfully injured, like his leg, his knee. It's really bad. He's got these kids kind of not really trusting him, taking care of him, but then also leaving him for dead. He's got to fight a couple random stragglers and strangers off. And then eventually he's found by our protagonist in episode 1, Annie, played by Shailene Woodley. I didn't know she was going to be in this show.
Yeah, I don't really know her from anything. I know the name, but I am not super familiar with her work.
She's Big Little Lies. That's what I always tell myself whenever I see her. But I think she was in some of those kind of dystopian shows like Insurgent, Divergent. I mean, yeah, this is kind of her genre, honestly. She's like the poor man's Katniss Evergreen, so that's kind of her kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So seeing her here, I said, oh, okay, we got a new character, and a new character who foolishly goes and gets pregnant in the middle of this apocalypse.
They always do. I don't know why.
What is wrong with people? The Walking Dead.
Be safe, Annie. Be safe. Okay, but let's talk about episode 1 as a whole, and then we'll get to the other episodes. But this was the all Graceland episode, and I remember back in season 1, we were talking about how, I think that there's going to be something having to do with Elvis along the way, and then we get the episode all set in Graceland. If I remember, I believe it was that Terry, Xavier's wife, was a big Elvis fan, although I don't think she really talked about Elvis at all in the flashback episode. So maybe she becomes an Elvis fan.
She's from Memphis, if I'm not mistaken. And so because of that, she is an Elvis fan just through, probably proximity to Elvis. And she ends up naming Presley for obvious reasons. And so, yeah, that was a small plot point in season 1. And now, coincidentally, I guess, we end up at Graceland for the entirety of season 2. This is not the real Graceland, from what I understand. I just feel like they just remade the Graceland set. But I thought it looked pretty cool, seeing the whole, I think in the flashback, they say that Elvis felt the most safe, like Graceland was the safest place on earth. And to that, I said, if I had to be stranded somewhere, Graceland is not my first choice. But maybe if I had to be stranded somewhere in Tennessee, it might be first choice. If you can't get out of Tennessee, I think you got to go to Graceland.
Do you care about Elvis? Do you have any Elvis affinity?
I like his music, I could get it like super, like don't be put my woke hat on, Rob, and tell you about how Elvis stole all this music from black people. But no, the songs are cool. Elvis seems fun. I get the appeal.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if there was also something with Elvis where was President Bradford an Elvis guy? Did he have any Elvis code names?
I don't remember. I just knew Presley was the big tie-in for sure.
Presley. Yeah. Okay. So we get really the whole backstory of Annie. And I was really felt like that maybe I don't know if I felt this way in season 1 or not, but really that Paradise is the closest thing there is to Lost. Remind me, were you a Lost person or they famously, they got you to watch Lost at one point?
I binge watched Lost last year.
Yes.
I think. Yeah. It was cool. I understand why it was such a big deal in the moment. Watching it in 2025 felt a little different. But it's such a character show for me. You find the people that you're rooting for and you really latch on to their stories. And you're right. Episode 1 felt like one of those episodes of Lost where you have the big group, you have the main people, but then you break off to this other character that might mean something later on. You get a whole backstory, and then you'll see that
section.
Yeah, and then you'll see all of a sudden that they cross paths with somebody in a different timeline, and we find that with Shailene Woodley's character Annie, because she will cross paths with somebody who will become very important later on, a man named Link.
Yes. Are
They
you a
linked up.
Zelda guy?
No, no, none of this means anything to me.
Oh.
You know, I'm not a game person. I thought I told you this. I don't really game.
I don't know. I kind
Like,
of felt like that in my mind. I thought that maybe you were a Legend of Zelda person.
nah, games don't really escape me. I'm like,
But you like
I'll play
Pokemon.
Pokemon. That's the one. That's the one. And
Yeah.
it's coming up on 25 years. Damn, Chappelle, grow up. I've seen people play games. I appreciate watching people play games,
Yeah.
but Link ain't my go-to person. If we're playing Smash Brothers, I would probably pick Pikachu before I pick Link.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get Annie's backstory. She was taking care of her mom, and then her mom used to send her to Graceland also. Why'd she have to go to Graceland so much when she was a kid? Because her mom cared about Graceland?
Yeah, her mom had some mental disabilities as well when she just wasn't doing well, and so a lot of times she would send her daughter to Graceland to come report back. Basically, she found the greatest place on earth, and she said, "Hey, I can't go all the time, but you could go for me and tell me about the jokes and tell me about Graceland." So Annie has an affinity for Graceland as well. It was kind of forced on her, but she definitely knows a lot about Elvis
Yeah.
by the time this is all said and done.
So after her mom then passes away, she goes into the medical profession. She ends up dropping out after she is triggered by something that happens. It's reminding her of her mom. The only place that she feels good is Graceland. And we see that she's at work the day that everything goes haywire with the super volcano. And then ultimately she's going to set up shop there with a woman, Gail. Is that the woman? Yes.
Yeah, Gail is one of those names that goes really far in TV. You know, every time you see a Gail, you're like, I like Gail. I'm thinking of Gail Bedecker, maybe in is that Breaking Bad? Anytime there's a Gail, I'm like,
Gail
okay,
King. I saw her interviewing the people that got kicked off Survivor today.
Gail King do be around doing stuff. Yes, this woman Gail, she's a footnote here in the story, but she's the person that Annie spends about 2 years with. In this Graceland bunker. Essentially, Gail will pass away from her injuries. She falls down the stairs, all this other stuff, but that's her only friend for 2 whole years before Link and the crew show up.
Maybe I'm wrong about this. I thought Gail didn't make it that far. I thought
she didn't.
She made it like 30 days. Like
she made it as far as she could, but there was no way that lady was going to be able to survive like that. She could barely move. But Annie ends up making it roughly 2 years before it's all said and done.
Yeah. So we get to day 689 where she comes out. Seems like things change up pretty quick. Where I don't know if maybe she had been locked down and didn't come out to see what was going on, but it goes from we have 2 years of winter to all of a sudden things are looking up and are thawing out and everything is going okay. I don't know if we need to get too much into like I have so many questions about like what did she eat? What did they drink?
She was just making do. I don't really know what she did to eat herself, but there definitely were moments where they were living off of stuff. I'm sure Graceland has some type
They had
of kitchen.
some stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, by the end of it, she's growing vegetables in her down there in the bunker as well. So she's a very smart lady.
Yeah, I'm not sure necessarily how much all of this is going to hold up to science where, did she have 2 years of drinkable water at Graceland? Is she drinking? Is she melting the snow?
Yeah, who knows? Dr. Amanda's somewhere shaking furiously right now because she's the science is not making sense. But
that was the same with Lost also. It's like, how come they don't lose any weight?
There were way bigger issues with Lost. It was magic. When you say there's magic involved, you could just say, oh, it's just magic. But this, we don't have any reason to believe there's magic involved. She's just a very crafty lady.
Yes. Okay. So Annie minding her own business till one day everybody is coming in Graceland. Some marauders are here. I know, Chappell, you are very well versed in the Walking Dead world. And so this is feeling very much like that this is a type of situation that we have seen many times before on The Walking Dead.
Yeah, The Walking Dead is, at its core, it says like there's zombie stuff happening around, but the people are who you should be worried about. And
Yeah.
very much so here. There's an apocalypse, but you don't know how to trust anybody. You don't know if you can trust these people. People are just trying to get it how they live. Some people are nefarious, some people are just trying to survive, but it could be detrimental to spend time with new people. So she's hiding and it feels like they're hunting her, honestly. They chase her around the house, she hides under the bed, they snatch her out. I'm thinking, okay, Annie, your time is up. Turns out, no, they just really want to look around Graceland.
Yeah, they wanted to check out Elvis's cars. Yeah, it turns out that she's meeting like really nice people. It does seem like that overall Paradise does have a very hopeful worldview where that at its heart, I do think that it has a optimistic message for a dystopian show that most of the people out there are some isolated bad guys and people, bad pockets, bad billionaires, bad politicians, but overall, the people are good.
Well, yeah, that's the problem though. The people in charge are bad. The
Yes.
are bad. The people running this. The reason why we're in this position is because the bad people are at the top, and all the good people are getting trampled all over. It's a little heavy-handed from Paradise. Sometimes sometimes I'm watching this and I'm gesturing wildly around. Y'all see this? Y'all don't see what these people are trying to tell you. But this is the show we have.
Yeah.
I feel like you could be optimistic, but Paradise is one of those shows that's going to keep beating you over the head with you shouldn't have been optimistic. By the end of this, we've yet to see a happy ending for anybody. We've seen a lot of endings though.
Not yet, but I feel like that we're on a good course.
It depends on who you are. You're on a good course and then you're dead. Paradise might be one of those shows too where you can't count on your faves being around too long. I think people started to really attach on to Billy in season 1. Yikes,
Yep.
that was
Billy
Yeah,
we did get to see him come back in the flashbacks.
Hey, that was pretty cool, but
Yeah.
I don't think anybody is safe here except for maybe Xavier.
Okay, so Annie is meeting up with her people. The bacon looked real good, I gotta say. Also,
yeah, where did they get that bacon? Was that did they
killed
bring
the
the
boar?
bacon?
I think.
Oh, yeah. It sliced it into bacon. These people are good.
That's what they said.
They have a chef.
Yeah,
they have a whole chef.
Chef killed a wild boar, so they're doing great. And we end up talking with Link, who is the main guy, and he found out what was going on. He got a bunch of sleeping bags, and he ended up meeting up with a bunch of people, and they're on their way to head to Colorado. And this is when I knew, Chappell, that we needed to do the podcast, was that they start explaining to her who Richard Hatch is.
No. She knew who Richard Hatch was.
Well, she's like, I know who Richard Hatch is, dummy.
Yeah, that's the impressive part. She's supposed to be relatively young in this. I mean, Link's 25. So she's talking about a show that's, pretty much her age, It's so, very cool that we got a Richard Hatch reference. We got an Urkel reference. And then we even got to talk about the Mets.
Yes, yeah, that's going to come up later on when they're talking about what they miss and what they don't miss. Yeah, I did a little bit of research that the creator of the show or the showrunner, Dan Fogelman, that he is, according to Twitter, a diehard Mets fan. He tweeted about Pete Alonso in December. He said, diehard Mets fan all my life. This is the most upset I've been, and that's saying something. Wishing Pete a 65 home run season. He did everything the fans could have asked. Now I wait for my little boy to get home from school so I could tell him his favorite player is gone. But the rest of his timeline is about Paradise, but interrupted that to mention about the Mets.
Rob, the statement, the whole scene actually is very funny because I did think about you immediately, to think that, what I missed the most is watching my favorite team play, but also what I missed the least is watching some of the things my favorite team does, and the Mets, that's one where I feel like if you're a Mets fan, you know.
And it is so true. And I often think about when, my dad who, put this curse on me, who is no longer here anymore, yet at the end of a horrific season, at the end of a devastating collapse, I do find myself saying like, Dad, you're not missing anything.
Are you putting the curse on your kids? Are you going to try to make sure you making sure this a thing? Because
Well, I
you
don't want
have
to
the
be alone and
responsibility.
watch by myself.
You have a responsibility. That's what sports fandom is all about, taking your trauma and then giving it to the next generation so they can keep this fandom going.
Yeah. Okay. So Annie is meeting up with the guys. Everything is going pretty good. They end up winning her over and they have like a nice dinner. That's where we hear about the Mets and all the things that they would miss or what they wouldn't miss. Chappell, what's your thing? What would you miss and not miss?
That's tough. That's tough. I would miss and not miss people. It would be both things. Because I love to hang out with people. I love to talk. I feel like I would be losing my mind not being able to just chatter. But at the same time, people just like nothing can get under your skin like a person, you know? And so you go from being so happy to see somebody, and then within 12 hours, you're thinking, I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Even having Paradise back, I was very happy to watch them. I was like, oh, they're getting back together. All these people, and he's meeting these new friends. Then they go and they have sex, and I'm thinking, y'all are so damn annoying. Y'all are so annoying. Y'all know you don't have no way of raising no damn baby.
It was a nice scene for sure if this was not in the apocalypse, but listen, I'm like, hey, you two kids better be careful, but not being that careful. I don't know. But was Annie feeling like, hey, we have to repopulate the earth?
No, they just got caught up in a moment. They haven't been touched in a long time. It's been 2 years since they've been intimate with somebody at least. And so they got caught up.
They seem like they had a great time, I have to say.
They laid up, pillow talking and stuff all after the fact. It's like, somebody needs to knock on that door and remind them what it looks like outside. Eventually Link says, hey, by the way, we gotta go. And he does end up telling her the true reason why they're here, because I think at first they said there were 94 nuclear power plants around and they wanted to shut them down because they're there and they might do something. I don't know how nuclear power plant will just start doing something, but they were like, that we gotta shut them down. Now they're saying, we're trying to get to Colorado because we've been finding some machines that work. That electromagnetic pulse kind of theory that they've been throwing around might be true.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bunker in Colorado where people have help, and we know that to be a fact.
Yeah. Were you surprised that Annie wouldn't leave?
No, not Annie. I think so. I would be surprised if some people didn't leave, but Annie has shown that this is her comfort zone. Graceland is her comfort zone. It was her mom's comfort zone. First, her mom gave her Graceland. She said, Elvis is now yours. This is where she went when things got bad. When her mom passed away, this is where she turned to. When she dropped out of medical school, this is where she came. When it was time to bunker down, she didn't go home. And Gail ain't got no home. Gail ain't got no family. They came into Graceland. I saw people leaving, and they said, let's go into work. Imagine your last seconds on the earth, and you said, I got to get to my job. No. So yeah, I think that this is home, so to just take off and leave with Link, who you just known for roughly a week. I don't know if I would be, if knowing who she is, I don't know if I'm surprised that she didn't want to go.
I saw a lot of people saying, I looked at a few different reviews of the first episode. People seemed a little bit perplexed that nobody else went to Graceland in all of this time. Anybody that was still alive, that nobody thought to raid Graceland.
I mean, the sun just came up, though, it seems. We were with Annie in spurts, obviously, but there was never a time where it was the birds are chirping and the sun is out. This just happened. And, it might have something to do with the theory that we will find out about later on, about the world heating up eventually. But it's not, I don't think people were just wandering around looting all over the place. I think people were just picking their spots, in
the bad pockets.
And now that the sun is up, everybody's like just rushing it. Because what would make you want to go see, of all the things, let's go stop by Elvis's crib? No, I think Walmart's, Targets, like different random grocery stores that you would want to go to. Those would be what I would hit. I'm not thinking of Elvis's home.
Yeah. I have to say that the show really did take its time with Annie and with Link. I feel like that the what's your favorite Elvis song segment of then when he doesn't know the Elvis songs and then she finally answers, are you lonesome tonight? Like he goes on earnestly answering that question for a couple of minutes. I really felt like that, a lot of shows might have just rushed that. Like I really liked how they let it breathe.
I think they needed us to really care about Annie and Link together. Because if you told me, this is a bad example, but Lori from The Walking Dead, she got pregnant. And I was like, Lori, you stupid. She's like, what are you doing? And I was like, Rick, you dumb too.
Wait,
Shane,
Glenn?
potentially. All these people getting pregnant. No, that was Maggie. Maggie got
Oh,
pregnant.
Maggie.
Also dumb. Also dumb. But here's the thing. I cared about Maggie and Glenn's a lot more because we sat with them longer.
Mhm.
With Rick and Lori and potentially Shane, depending on who you are in the fandom. I was thinking, come on, y'all. I don't care about Lori like that. And we moved on from Lori very quickly. Here, we really had to sit with this love story that happened so fast, but those tender moments that really made them fall in love, we had to experience them too. Rob, what's your favorite Elvis song?
I would say it's Fool's Rush In.
I like Blue Christmas.
Oh,
okay. I don't love Christmas music because it feels like the same, 10 or 12 good songs refreshed and reskinned. But Blue Christmas by Elvis, that's the one.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna get everybody leaving. That the guys are saying like, "Hey, Link, we gotta go. We've got to go kill Alex."
And if you thought this woman wasn't gonna come with you to Colorado, now you're murdering people.
Yes.
If I'm her, I'm locking the door. Now
Okay.
I'm good, Link. Thanks. Never mind.
Yeah, we will find out more about Alex and that link to Link in the third episode. But I was like, wait, who's Alex? Why do we have to go kill Alex?
Yeah, we really don't find out more about Alex too much.
Yeah,
the show really dances around that one.
We're gonna dance around it. We have a whole season to talk about Alex.
Alex, 3 episodes in a row. I was saying that.
And then ultimately, we're going to see a bit of a montage, and Annie is very pregnant. And then the plane crashes. And then I'm not sure if you're supposed to ride a horse when you're pregnant. I'm not sure, though.
You're supposed to have a baby in an apocalypse. I think
you
just kind of have to let that one go, especially to raise it by yourself. Let's say you do have to repopulate. Cool. I still think this is the way you do that. That said, the plane crashes. And she thinks, Link, hey, it must be Link. He's coming back for me. Hey, he figured it out. He's from Colorado. Let me go find my man. My baby needs daddy.
But, I think these babies are resilient because I was watching one battle after another. And sometimes you could be like 9 months pregnant and just like shooting like an Uzi. And then the baby is like super smart and turns out great. So the baby's resilient.
Grey's Anatomy taught me babies are really tougher than people like to give it credit for.
Yeah.
So this baby is going to be battle tested. It's going
to better be.
Yeah, it's on a horseback day one. Pre day one. She goes out to the wilderness and she does not find Link. She finds our protagonist Xavier. There he is. He didn't make it to Atlanta.
Yeah, so I maybe misremembered in my head when I saw this plane that was crashed on the ground. Like I thought that Xavier took like one of the good planes, but I guess he flew out like this little like crop duster.
I think he's in a bad patch too. Something. Why did he crash?
I don't know what happened. It looked like that he had some sort of like an issue where he was having like a headache.
Yeah. I don't know how he ended up doing this, but he takes a tumble. And so she finds him, and we will find out in episode 2 what led to that moment. And, like I said, the show does the Lost thing where it gives us this other
plane
person.
Crash.
The plane crash. It gives us a plane crash, but now it's showing us somebody else's perspective of that same plane crash.
Okay. All right. And that's where we end episode 1 and we link up in episode 2, Mayday, with back to Xavier. And we see Xavier trying to reach Atlanta. Is Memphis on the way to Atlanta? Is Xavier lost?
Well, he's coming from Colorado.
Gonna get a map out.
Yeah, I'm about to. I mean, he had a map. Let me see.
Did he have enough
Colorado.
gas to get to Atlanta from Colorado in
That
that
might
little
have been why
plane?
he crashed. So yes, you have to go through Tennessee to get to Colorado. So the goal is to you hit Colorado, go over to Kansas, and then you would come down through Tennessee to right through the top of Atlanta. So he was on the way. He just didn't make it.
He's on the way.
He made a plenty of distance though. That's a lot of progress. He crossed at least 3 states.
Okay, so he's making good time, but ultimately ends up crashing along the way. And we see that he ends up meeting with these kids who were in some sort of like travel sport team. We don't really know what was the sport. It seems like that there's boys and girls.
He said travel team, and I thought, is that a thing? You just travel and but I think one of the girl had maybe a baseball cap on.
Yeah, and maybe there was a sister there that was also traveling with the team. So, okay, I didn't ask too many questions. Do you think we're going to see the kids again?
Got to, right? They ran off with Xavier's bag. Well, they ran off with his stuff, and he's going to want his stuff back. These kids are, like you were talking about those babies. These kids also have been out in the apocalypse for 2 years. These are resilient kids. They don't talk much, but they're about that action.
They are about that action. They have one kid who is a leader. I'm not sure what his name is. The leader of the kids, Daniel. Yeah, and the rest of the kids, they don't be talking much.
No, I think his sister spoke up at one point. She said that man is hurt, or something like that. He hurt real bad, just little kids. But Daniel, I think the issue is that these kids did a lot of growing up in a short amount of time. This apocalypse happened, and they've watched their parents either perish or you just haven't seen them in a couple years. And so this is a grizzled group of children.
They are grizzled. That's a good word for them. Yeah.
Xavier says, hey, I got this book. I want to read y'all a bedtime story. And one of the kids said, can I have your jacket when you die? I said, oh, another Survivor reference. So
Xavier.
Damn story.
Xavier.
Yeah. Xavier.
Can I have your jacket?
When you die, can I have my jacket? Xavier says, maybe I'll learn the bedtime story types of kids.
Yeah.
They seem a lot.
Okay, but the kids are saying like, hey, shh, quiet, because the bad people are around, and eventually one of them will show up, and Xavier has to end up taking a guy out.
Xavier can fight. We saw him doing a lot
Secret
of that.
Service.
Yeah, military training. We got the flashback to that too. But he beats this man up with one good leg and murders him. In self-defense, but he kills him. And the kids watching it, they don't cry, they don't scream, they don't run away. They just go over and bury the man. Just throw some leaves on him. They don't say any kind words. These kids are done. They said rub some dirt on it.
Yeah. Where did they go with his stuff?
No clue.
They have other hideouts?
I'm assuming so. I don't know if they can trust any humans right now. And Xavier seems fine, but will he be fine once he can walk? He just murdered a guy with one leg. He is a guy with one leg who murdered a man. And so they're probably thinking, we can't stick around with this guy too long. They took all his junk and they took off. I think they even took his map.
Yeah. Let's talk about the flashback on this episode, because I do agree that the flashback was the stronger part of it, where we got to see the meet cute of Xavier and Terry when Xavier had the leg issue pop up the first time, where he was in the hospital, and then he meets Terry, who is undergoing back surgery for scoliosis, and then ultimately he becomes a caretaker to Terry while she has lost her eyesight.
Yeah, he first ends up interacting with her because he likes her. He's trying to get her attention. Then she's kind of first she blows him off because we know Terry at this point. We've spent 2 seasons with her. Essentially, we know she's a very driven woman who's not going to be slowed down by some pretty man in a hospital gown. But then we see, losing your eyesight and needing somebody to help you will soften your heart a little bit. And by the end of this, Xavier is able to watch Terry heal, also kind of work his way in there. And then later on, we know the rest is all history.
He's persistent.
He is, and not in a pushy way, because she's saying, oh, I don't want to date you when I get out of here. He's like, well, can I hang out with you now? She says, that's fine,
Mhm.
whatever. At least you look good. And then when she couldn't see, she still wanted him to hang out. She never told him to get away. And he was getting by off his looks at first. So, if this woman fell in love with you while she couldn't see you, got a crazy personality, right?
What do you think about Xavier's favorite food is French toast?
I don't know if that can be, well, I was gonna say I don't know if that could be a favorite food, but I do understand the element of having a favorite food that you only have sometime, right? So
Mhm.
it's more exciting when you have it. No one's eating, I won't say no one is eating French toast for dinner, but it's not a dinner meal typically. You know what I'm saying? For all the
Mhm.
people, I eat French toast every night. Congratulations. But I do think that, when you go to a restaurant or someone's home for a dinner service, French toast is not often on the menu for that. And so to kind of reserve French toast as a favorite that you can go to every now and then, I kind of like it. My favorite candy is candy corn, and I only eat it in October.
It's
After
true.
October, I never come back. It's
Yeah.
just my one special treat for the month.
French toast over pancakes or waffles, though?
No, not consistently. No, I
Mhm.
think waffles are battle tested. I think pancakes are probably more hit and miss. I've been hurt before by people's pancakes, but you find a good waffle, and I
Mhm.
think it just brighten your day. I'm
Pretty
not
good.
really a French toast guy though. It's not my fave.
Yeah.
It's number three for me out of those three.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
What else from Xavier and Terry? Did we learn any new information here in terms of their meetup, their backstory? I do think that this was probably the best version of Xavier and Terry that we've gotten across the show, where we've seen her a little bit more where they're at odds with each other, sort of like not getting along great. So this was nice to see sort of like when it's working with Xavier and Terry.
Yeah, we see why she will end up letting him in. At first, she's very career oriented. She's thinking, I have plans. I have to go do all these things, and you're not going to derail that. And by the end of it, through just seeing how persistent he was, but also how caring he was, how careful he was with her and her stuff. While she was blind, he was very attentive. And even once he healed up, he could have left, but he stayed to make sure she was okay. So when she could finally see, it's basically the first face that she saw. So yeah, for Terry, you can really see why Xavier, as much as we've seen them kind of going at it in
Mhm.
season one, this really did solidify in the same way that episode one solidifies the Link and Annie bond, where we really sit with those moments. This really felt like this is reminding you how these two fell in love.
Is there anything else from the 2004 timeline that you feel like is going to be important moving forward with Xavier and Terry?
It's hard to know because they did this in season one where the little details where what we come back and we're like, oh wow, that's crazy, we didn't even catch that, or they did say that, and now I don't know if I've just been trained now to watch Paradise like that. I'm trying to pick up on the pieces to find out if any of this will matter later on, and I'm not quite sure yet. I think the only thing is the kids. I think the kids from the present timeline, that's something that we might need to latch on to, because the kids, they have the map and they know Xavier was trying to go to Atlanta to those
Mhm.
towers. So they have nothing but time. Tennessee and Atlanta are not that far apart. So they just got to start walking.
All right. So we end up with ultimately Annie showing up, where we get the scene that we saw at the end of the first episode, where Annie picks up Xavier and then ends up bringing Xavier back to Graceland. That Xavier, I don't think, even realizes that he's at Graceland.
No, he's delirious. He doesn't know anything that's
Mhm.
going on. All he's saying is Terry, Terry, Colorado, Colorado. And at that point, Annie says, oh, you're not going to see Terry anytime soon because I'm taking you back to Colorado. We need to find my baby daddy.
Yeah, how about that? I can't imagine that Xavier is just going to say, "No, I guess we'll have to go with your plan." Like, he's a stubborn guy. He's not going to do this.
And she ain't got no car, to my knowledge. So
Yeah.
unless she plans on throwing him on the back of the horse, well, but hold on, pause. Let me think about that.
Yeah.
Does she have a car? How did she get him back to Graceland? She threw him on
She
the horse.
walked. She put Xavier on the horse and then she walked.
So yeah, if she does this right now, she could start walking to
Yeah.
Colorado. But they're gonna need a plane. They're gonna need a car. So they're gonna need some type
Did
of
Elvis have a
transportation.
plane?
That's a good question. Elvis had cars.
Elvis had cars. And so the EMP wiped out all the electronics that was on the surface. I'm imagining the stuff that was in the bunker is okay because it was shielded from being in the bunker, but Elvis's stuff was so old that I guess it didn't have like a microchip in it or whatever that would have gotten burned up in the EMP. But I don't know what airplane they're going to find to get back to Colorado.
They might have to drive it, and that's not a quick drive. Like I said, that's 4-ish states.
What about a train? Can we get a train going?
I don't know about that. Train run by coal.
Steam train? Yeah.
Steam? Yeah. I don't know. I doubt it.
That was working in Back to the Future 3.
I never got that far. I only saw the first one.
You can stop it too. It's fine. Okay. Then we have our third episode, and this was our traditional episode of
baby.
Paradise. We're so back, and we go back to the bunker, and we're going to get to go see Sinatra. She survived. I love Sinatra so much.
This lady should be dead. Why is she still here?
You need Sinatra.
We need her dead. This lady should have been dead. I don't like this Jane character at all. I'll get to that in just a second. But the one good thing she ever did was shoot Sinatra, because I was happy to see that lady get shot. This lady's evil. Now, she's just evil. Yeah.
Is she? She might be a good guy now.
No, still evil.
Okay. Well, we end up going a flashback to Sinatra was at this conference, and here's the guy who knows about the volcano that's going to go off. And then she goes out and has drinks with this guy. And then he ends up telling about what's going to happen. He was right about everything so far. And then he talks about how the planet is going to cool. But guess what? There's a whole other part that you don't even know about yet, where after the volcano, then there's going to be this winter that's going to last for a couple of years, and everybody's going to think, oh, we made it. And then the worst part is going to happen, where the atmosphere is going to be too pressurized and is going to basically burn off. And the people who made it this far are going to wish they got wiped out in the first place.
Yeah, this was always a concern, even in season 1. We just didn't know about it. Sinatra is the only one who knew this part of the story. She kept telling, hey, y'all, there's this explosion about to happen. The man kept trying to tell everybody. He got Sinatra on board for that. But we never got past that part of the story. We thought, okay, well, now that we've done that, we just rebuild from here. He says, no, season 2, there's more. I wonder if there's more for season 3. Who knows? But right now, we have to deal with the after part.
This was a big swerve because we don't really know what Sinatra is planning to be able to circumvent this, because it doesn't seem like that there is a way to be able to stop this. And also, maybe it would have been a good idea to get this scientist guy in the bunker, since he knows so much about this.
She doesn't really like science. They're not a fan of science.
He's a loose cannon, this guy.
Yeah, they're not a fan of science in real life, these people. These billionaires and politicians, the world leaders, when scientists speak up, they shush them. And so she is here for self-preservation. And I think maybe that man would have kind of exposed some of the more nefarious sides of her plan. And so he can't kick it. But as far as her side mission, she's siphoning energy away from the bunker to do something. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So we see now we have our new leader, President Baines. This guy sucks.
He's the worst. He's the worst.
Where's President Cal?
Yeah. Why would we need this incompetent blowhard who hates science and education and is mean to people and arrests people and journalists for speaking out against him, when we had a young, charismatic president who everybody liked, who even in the dark times, it just looked like, hey, that guy cared a little bit more. Just night and day between these two people.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that Cal is gone. He's not coming back. And this guy sucks. Nobody even likes him. And then he's also like arresting people on the street and has like an internment camp that he has hidden under the city.
Locking people up, separating people from their families. It's a lot going on here. And it's it's really tough because you can see the difference between Paradise that we were sold in season 1 to the Paradise we have in season 2. But in season 1, we didn't even have guns. In season 2,
No.
they're pulling guns on kids. You know, and there's a resistance to his tyranny now. You know, the former president's son is out here with a mask on, leading the revolution. You know, it's a far cry from what we used to be. But luckily, we don't have to deal with President Baines long because Sinatra woke back up. She's going to take over.
Yeah. And President Bain, he has a crazy idea. He's like, you know what the problem is? We don't have summer. If we just had summer, everybody would calm down.
Yeah. He says, for the most part, people are happy, right? Yeah, this is the happiest people have ever been. Happiest ever. And they're like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And if you don't believe me, you can get out. You can get out. You can go to my internment camp as well. I think I'm going to give the people summer. You know what we should do right now? We should heat the world up 10 degrees. That's going to make people happy.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think so. Especially with the amount of science that went into this in the first place. They probably picked this temperature for it.
Yeah. You know how the whole thing is like the perfect temperature? Like, what if we made it hotter?
What if we ruined
what
that?
If we made it hotter?
What if we just start touching shit and changing the names of stuff that don't matter?
Yeah.
You know?
And everybody's getting mad. This guy's an idiot.
He's the worst.
Yes. Remember Jane? We got so much Jane in season 1. We're still waiting for Jane's big flashback episode.
We're waiting for Jane to die.
Yeah, Jane is the one person that is going to coddle this man to some degree until she kills him. But she doesn't know exactly what buttons to press with this guy.
No, but Sinatra's awake. This is the best thing ever because Jane shot Sinatra last season to make sure Sinatra knew that Jane wasn't to be trifled with, and because she didn't let Jane play the Wii. And so now Jane's back.
That. Yeah.
No, yeah. Those were her last words. Like, you should have let me play the Wii, which is actually crazy. She's probably a big Link guy herself. And so now that Sinatra is back, Jane got somebody else to take orders from. But she tells Sinatra, you know, I covered for you. And we do get a flashback of the moments after she shot Sinatra. She went to Xavier and said, oh my God, I had to kill her. I'm so sorry I had to shoot her. And Xavier's like, no.
She's a good actress.
Me, I'm the hero. I have to take the blame for this. You just blame me. I'm going to escape. And then y'all can keep the world together. So Jane's loyalty is up for sale, basically. She's going to the highest bidder. And now that Sinatra's back, she can go play ball with her now.
Yeah. And then also there's some business with the woman, Agent Robinson, Nicole, I believe is her name. And Agent Robinson, that she is now sort of like subservient to Jane somehow, where Jane is kind of the hero, and that Agent Robinson is just looked at as this person who is kind of just not a high-ranking person.
No, they think she was a part of the insurrection. Yeah. You know, she tried to stand up against the government, and you know, she got caught. Xavier got away, but they kept it. Thanks to Jane, you know, her benevolence, she made sure that Nicole had a job as her driver. Got this black lady driving her car for this little girl. It's crazy. So she got her driving her around and basically watching Jane, knowing that Jane is guilty of something. She doesn't trust her because it didn't make sense. Jane just pulled up at Sinatra's house, shot her, and came back home. She's like, why did you even go over there? Jane doesn't really have a choice. Like, I just was scared. I didn't know what to do. Again, we talked about this in season 1. Jane is a Secret Service person for the president, and they really try to paint her as some naive little girl. The whole time you're thinking, that can't be the way. You don't just become a Secret Service person for the president. You have to be willing to take a bullet for the president, for one, but also probably willing to shoot somebody. And so I think that her persona has probably outlived its livelihood here, because I think people are going to start to wake up to, why is she able to move around so seamlessly if she's this naive?
I'll be so psyched when we get the Jane backstory episode.
I'll be psyched when she's dead. That lady needs to go.
Listen, who do you want to be still alive on the show?
Honestly, I thought Baines would have been a good villain. You know, he was going to be somebody you'd love to hate a little bit. And they got rid of him so fast. Yeah. So now I think Sinatra is the villain. But we can kill Jane. I'm fine with. I'll let you keep Sinatra, but we got to get Jane out of here.
I think Sinatra is in the gray area. I think that Sinatra is doing things to try to fix these problems. but she doesn't also want to listen to any of these idiots.
Yeah, I think this lady sucks. I think she's the worst. And
I
yeah,
mean,
she's trying to fix problems, but I think it's more self-serving than anything.
yeah.
I think if she could have made a bunker for herself and just lived there with her family, she would have.
Well, we thought in season 1 that Sinatra had killed President Bradford the whole time, and it turned out that that was just some loose cannon.
Yeah, just random stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, this lady sucks. I don't trust her. And a lot of the stuff that she's doing too is so underhanded. She's not coming out and saying this. We still don't know what this big secret she has. And so until she gives me a reason
Mhm.
to trust her, I don't like it.
So the president wants to heat up the bunker. They
So
can't do
dumb.
it because Sinatra is using all the power, and that they bring her in for questioning. And I really loved how this was a mirror, maybe a one-way mirror to what we saw. I think it's the first episode of Paradise or the second episode
Mhm.
of Paradise, where we see Xavier getting the lie detector test. And then we had the return of Dr. Gabriella Tarabi.
Yeah, to Robbie, Gabby, she's back and she's sick. She's like me. She's sick of Sinatra shit. Hey, lady, I've been working with you a long time. I've known you a long time, and you ain't good people no more. By the end of this, she's telling her, that my dad used to have a car. He loved that car. And he used to work on that car, and
Yep.
I understood that. And then one day, he just let the car go, and then she just
Mhm.
turned to left. She said, "All right, you're the car. You're the car. Peace out, Sinatra. I'm done with you."
Yeah. I was excited to see Dr. Tarabi back, and she ends up getting questioned. And the question she's asking her with the lie detector, I think it's probably that there is like a little bit of a cheat code of like, are you using all of the power for your own personal gain? And she says no. And it doesn't seem to trip the system. I wonder if it's like, because no, it's not for my personal gain, it's for the world.
This is staged. This is completely staged.
You think it was fake?
She's in on this, yeah.
She's in on
Because
it?
there's no reason are you using this for your own personal gain? Just say, is there something else? Do you have another
Mhm.
project? Are you siphoning things? Yes or no? She won't ever answer that question.
Yeah.
There's even that moment because we've kind of speculated about, does she have another kid out here, Sinatra? Because when she lost one, she has the other daughter. But I was looking at Jane crazy for a while. After she shot her about the Wii, I don't think that's her daughter. But I do think that Sinatra was dodging some of the questions when in a lot of type tests, the key is to answer yes or no
Yeah.
and just go on. She was asking the question back. Basically, all they did was piss off Bane to where he ran outside, like, you tell me.
Mhm.
And
And then
yeah.
after he leaves, we see Sinatra say to Jane, like, "Boy, that guy needs a breath mint."
Cue the flashback to where we
Mhm.
see Billy.
Yes.
Yeah, we find out that Sinatra, when she first started trying to make her plans about her side project, she was already working on Cal, the president, about the bunker. But now she's got this extra piece that she wants, and she needs a bit more of the technology, but the scientists won't give it to her, and she doesn't know what to do. And she's trying to talk to Cal, but he doesn't care because Uptown Funk just came on the radio or something. He's doing his thing. And so Cal's Cal's dad shows up, and Kane is for all the scandal watchers out there, he's like B613. He's too far in, right? He's above the president. He doesn't have to be the president to be in charge. He just knows the secrets, and he could talk to Sinatra about it. He says, "My son's stupid, but if you need to get this company sold to you, and this man won't sell it willingly, I can put you in contact with somebody who can take it in by other means." And that's when Billy shows up to be her hired man to go intimidate A. Elliot Stemple, Rob.
Yes. Okay. I was like, "Boy, this guy, I know him from somewhere," and like, he looks so familiar.
I screamed. It's Patrick Fischler. I don't know when he became an icon to me
Yeah.
because he's a that guy, right? He's very much a that guy.
Yeah.
But when I saw him this time, legend status approved.
That's such a
A.
good
Elliot
pull.
Stemple's back from
Yes.
Suits. This man is incredible. I'm so sad he only gets one episode.
He's such a that guy. And so that he ends up having drinks with Agent Billy Pace, and then It's funny the scenes with Billy Pace and Sinatra where she's like talking to him about like what he wants to do, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're so bad at this. Why are you being like this?" It was so funny their scenes together. But he ends up then going to the bar with this guy, and then he puts the contract in front of him and says, "Hey, we got to do this the easy way." The guy writes down his address.
Mm-hmm. He invites him to the house. Billy talking to Sinatra is very fun because this is baby Sinatra. She hasn't gone out here and started murdering people randomly and enslaving people. She's just chilling right now. And so
Mhm.
Billy's kind of like, you are in the wrong business if you're gonna be acting like this. You need to step it up. And by the end of this, she will be. I mean, she's a completely different person. The Sinatra we know now, the present villain that we
Yeah.
have, she is stone cold. And so Billy gets to A. Elliot Stimple's house. I'm never gonna not call him that. He goes to his house and he finds that Stimple and his wife is there, and he's euthanizing his wife. She's very ill, and he's like, I'm euthanizing my wife right now, and then you can go ahead and kill me too. I see that's what you're gonna do. I'm not gonna sell this to you willingly, but do me one favor, because I do think you were brought here for a reason. Do not kill my protege.
Yeah.
Leave me and my wife Alex alone, and we're dying on our own. Kill me, leave my protege Link to go live on to do more research.
Yes. Okay. There was so much in this scene with A. Elliot Stemple
Yes.
and what this monologue that he gives about the 50% chance of rain, 50% chance of sun. Do you think that you were sent here for a reason? Or do you think that this was just a coincidence that you're here? He gives him the tissue before he ultimately does what he needs to do. So many questions about what is he building, what is he working on, and then we get that tie-in where he says don't hurt the boy, and we find out that it's Link, and we know that there is a connection between what he's doing and then also what Sinatra is siphoning the energy for. And it seems like this technology that is called Alex, named after A. Elliot Stemple's wife, now is something that we see that Link needs to go kill it.
Yeah, they said we
I
have
thought this
to.
was going to save us.
I don't really know what they think this is. You know, initially they said that they were going around stopping all the or shutting down all the nuclear power plants. And so maybe they can tell it's, got some like massive weird energy source or something like that. Maybe they think it's the problem. But from what we can tell, this is the solution. This is what the good thing.
Yeah.
And Link is now, but they keep talking about Link killing it, but Link is the person he's the lead scientist on this, right?
Yeah.
He's the
He's building
protege.
it.
Yeah, but he couldn't have been building it this whole time. So he needs to now get there to build it, or to finish building it, to finish this project. So that's probably what's going on. They probably think Link is going there to kill some lady named Alex. In reality, he's probably going there to finish his mentor's life's work, which is whatever this project is.
Oh, so you think that, yeah, he isn't going there to go kill it. He is actually going there and he knows about the bunker and that he's going there to finish building it.
Yeah, he's got left here for a reason. That was
Yeah.
the whole storyline with A. Elliot Stemple and Billy saying, "You think this is a coincidence that you're here?" And even the last thing Stemple says to him is, "Don't kill Link." He walks out, and who's standing right there? Link. Link watches the whole thing go down,
Yeah.
basically. And Billy says, "Today is your luckiest day. This is the luckiest day on earth for you," because he leaves him alive. We've seen Billy kill people indiscriminately before,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden he's just gonna let this kid live. He's got something to live for, Rob, and now we just don't know what it is yet.
Well, now I'm wondering if I'm buying Link's story about how that he ends up with just a bunch of sleeping bags. Like, did he know this was all going to happen? Was he set up?
Maybe. I mean, he definitely knew it was all going to happen, right? Like if he was working with Stemple or with Sinatra to some extent, because Stemple is selling the company to Sinatra in this moment. Does she ever have any interaction with Link after this, or does Link go rogue after this? Right? Is this his kind of his villain origin stories? He watched his mentor killed. He watched the company get sold off. He knows that the company is the solution, but he's the science guy who needs to be there to make it happen. Was he this whole time? Is he just trying to get back there to save the Earth, or was he
Yeah.
in on this? Is he working with Sinatra in some way?
Is
Or
he in
was
on
he
a
on it?
hostile takeover of the bunker? Is he feeling
Yeah.
like, hey, I need to get my people there, and then we're taking over this thing? Like, I know it's
Mhm.
there, and I know that they have the technology that we need to be able to save ourselves, and we're going to get in there. We're going to get the corrupt administration out of there, and we're going to take over this bunker.
Yeah, because he knows, or he just needs to get it for himself. You know, they're not trying to save the world. The bunker's not trying to save the rest of the world. They're going to try to save the bunker. You know, they didn't try to get everybody safe. They put the people that they thought were important in the bunker. The billionaires, the important people, the essential staff of the world, all is in there. Or the United States is all in there. Linked people are not there. They're
Yeah.
not. So he's like, if I can go get that thing, maybe that's what I can use to keep the rest of us safe, because it's warming up. The sun has come out. There are birds, Rob. It's now starting to look like life.
Looking
But
good.
but probably with every passing day, he's probably thinking, "Oh, this is getting worse. This is getting worse, and I got to get to the thing that's going to fix it."
Yeah. So I think that Sinatra, though, is not necessarily beholden to the billionaires who bought their way into the bunker. I think that as far as she's concerned, like, they could all go. I don't think she cares about them at all. Like, I think that she is redeemable, Sinatra.
Nah, not for me. She just got this man killed. Why does Alien Simple gotta die because you got an idea? Because he wouldn't sell it to you? You know? Sorry. This lady's corrupt, man. I can't do
She
it.
tried to buy him out. He didn't have to die.
He still didn't have to die. You know, he died. But
She wanted to make him a rich man.
She did. Now she made him a dead man. And Billy's dead too, honestly. A lot of people around her are just dying.
Yeah.
All of her friends are dropping dead, Rob. You gotta get off this sinking ship.
Okay, so we end up, I like the scenes with Sinatra at home with her husband, and then she's just like going back to normal and watching shows, but she's working on a plan. She's cooking. And what's with her housekeeper?
Her housekeeper mentions Alex as well.
Yeah.
I can't remember her housekeeper's name. But she says, I believe she says she talked to Alex. So Alex cannot be
maybe
the
it's like
person.
Alexa.
Yeah. She or the housekeeper is probably I don't know if the housekeeper is just like doing double duty, as she's like housekeeper by day, but also scientist by night or something like that. But she was talking to her about the power issue. These aren't normal conversations you would have with a housekeeper.
No. So she's up to something. And so we're going to now see in the flashback when it closes out, we're going to see Sinatra talk to Agent Billy Pace, and she says, well, how do I get a hold of you again? He's like, oh, what are you, like, in the frequent flyer program now? And he says, okay, if you need somebody again, just tell me that guy needs a breath mint, which we know she said earlier. And now here comes Jane, and President Baines wants to go out for a jog, and she's the only person with him. And we get the reprise of Another Day in Paradise. And as the song promises, we get another dead president in paradise.
Yeah, so much happens in these moments. So the conversation that she has with the housekeeper is being monitored by Gabriella. She's listening in.
Dr. Tarabi.
Right. Then we get the Billy reveal with the breath mint. So we know that is the code word for, hey, I need you to kill somebody. We know that Jane was in the room when that happened. We kind of cut to Jane when she says that. So we know Jane has gotten the hit word, right? The activation word. So she's now supposed to go target the president. And she's been working on the president the entire episode. He said, oh, I trust you. You know, she's made it to where she's almost his go-to service person. When he goes running and jogging through the neighborhood, she's the one who follows him, and she's the one who will take him out. But she will be planting this or setting Agent Robinson up for the fall for this, because Agent Robinson does not trust her and is on her tail, and has basically put all the pieces together that Jane is at the very least lying about Billy's suicide. Billy took his own life is just a bold-faced lie.
Yeah.
Because and Nicole knows that because she's gone through the transcripts of what Jane's statement was, and then she's finding some conflicting reports. Billy had nothing to live for, yet he bought an engagement ring. What's that about? So Nicole's onto her, but Jane is one step ahead. She kills the president and leaves Agent Robinson passed out with the knife in her hand right next to his dead body.
Yeah, she got her in the sleeper real quick. So fast thinking on her feet from Jane. Was that always part of the plan, or is Jane improving?
I think that was always part of the plan. I think Jane is always a step ahead. I think there's a reason why Jane why does Robinson have a job? Why is Robinson not in jail? Why does she keep her around? I think Robinson is always supposed to be the fall person for something. And this is what it ended up being.
It was so good. It was good. This is
good.
Like Paradise when you get the song is going, the cover is playing, stuff is happening. There's big twists in the episode. I was like, we're so back, baby.
It felt very much like the every rose has its thorn poison moment that we had in season 1. It didn't hit the same, but it definitely pissed me off like it did though. But it did piss me off. So when I was done, my initial reaction was, damn, I gotta wait another week for the next episode to drop. And
because this one, I think we saw this coming a little bit more because this was sort of like when this guy needs a breath mint is said. It's like you knew where it was going the whole time. I think that the surprise was the Agent Robinson ends up being the person who ends up taking the fall for it. So we'll see ultimately how this is all going to play out, because I don't know who's going to get well, I guess that Dr. Tarabi put the bugged picture frame in Sinatra's house. So I think that's the only hope for Agent Robinson to get out of this.
Well, Agent Robinson's probably going to go to the jail, right? And Jeremy, Cal's son, is there as well. So that's her first stop, is to wherever this internment camp is. She's going to be there
in the basement.
And Jeremy's in there with a scientist, right? Wasn't that who he was talking to?
Oh yeah, the guy who was the person who was the engineer who built this whole thing.
Right. So he's in there and Jeremy's telling him, you got to help me. We're taking this thing apart. We're about to tear this down in the name of my dad. So I'm pretty sure, once Robinson and Jeremy hook up, they're going to be the inside crew trying to take the prison system out from the inside. Then you got Presley on the outside, who's going to be hell-bent to find Jeremy because they have a little back and forth, but also because her stepmom, basically, Agent Robinson, is going to go missing. So we're going to get more of the kids playing Spy Kids and trying to figure all of this out.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't need to see Xavier's kids have a storyline. I know that. I know it's too late. It's probably. I famously don't care about the children of the protagonists and giving them their own stuff. Like they can have kids. I just don't need to see them have a story.
Yeah, these kids are definitely going to be involved in the story. With Jeremy inside, with Xavier outside, and with Agent Robinson inside, they don't have another parent figure. The closest parent figure they would have is Jane,
the guy who had the dog,
and Jane. Jane. So they're not well. These kids are not safe. So they have to figure out how to either get Robinson out of jail and absolve her from whatever is going on.
Did Presley know that Jane kidnapped her, or it was sort of like that they did Presley just think that they were hanging out?
They figured it out. They ended up escaping because of some signal that they got or something like that. Her and the brother ended up breaking away from them.
But did Presley ever tell her parents or tell Xavier that, by the way, Jane kidnapped me, or that she thought that they were just hanging out?
I think she thought they were just hanging out.
Yeah, she bought her ice cream.
Yeah, she was out there. Jane wanted to kill Presley so bad. And honestly, to your point earlier, the only reason why Presley's still alive is because Sinatra didn't want to kill her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. There we go. 3 episodes of Paradise. I guess we'll have 8 episodes, so 5 more to go.
I'm hoping it's 8 at least. But yeah.
I think it's 8, but it could be 7.
And then season 3 potentially. I don't know if they wrap this whole thing up in 2 seasons, but
big hit.
I can imagine so.
Yeah, I think a lot of people found it from the first time that we first started talking about it.
Yeah, and there was some Emmy noms, I think, for Sterling K. Brown. So they might stretch this out to maybe 3 seasons. But yeah, I'm very excited. I don't know how long we do this though. You know, one season a year for what, 5-6 years. I don't know how long they're gonna keep this going.
Hey, look, it's better than most shows that we get. So yeah, 8 episodes. The finale is supposed to be on March 30th.
Okay, so maybe we try to come back sometime between now and then, or by the
I would say
finale.
that just in terms of my schedule, this next week is probably okay to talk about it if you know, we get a good response and people are interested in more. The week after is going to be the trickier week for me, but let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, I found an article from the Hollywood Reporter that says Paradise is already raising big questions with season 2 and will end with the season 3. So we really have one more season of Paradise to deal with after this.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good.
Keep it cute. Keep it tight.
Yeah, keep it tight. That's perfect. I love this show.
You will never hear me complain about a show only having 3 seasons unless it's called The Pit.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
The Pit is the only show where there needs to be 20 endless seasons of TV. The Pit and probably Survivor, but this having 3 seasons, keep it tight. Don't make this storyline too contrived and crazy. Let's get out of here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then Chappell, next week, season 2, episode 4, it's gonna be halftime. We'll be halfway there.
I thought that's what it was gonna be called. Halftime.
No.
I said, that'd be cool.
It's called A Holy Charge.
A Holy Charge. Remember when we used to do song titles and stuff? Are we not doing that anymore? I don't think Holy Charge is a song title.
Yeah, they did do Another Day in Paradise was the name of this 3rd episode, but the 1st episode was Graceland, 2nd episode was Mayday. So I don't know if the episode titles were always song titles.
I just feel like we used to have a theme with the music. We didn't really talk about it, but the music didn't really jump out to me like it used to. We keep doing the same damn song. What happened to the other song? Remember Poison? Poison?
Yeah, I will say that the theme song to Paradise is always present in the episodes, and I love it too.
They really gave us this haunting version of Paradise, and I think it's probably climbing up the charts. The people, nobody cared about this song, and now all of a sudden, this is the version. This is probably going to be the new version 1A of this song.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this was so fun to get to talk about here with you. I'm so glad that Paradise came back. Wish it was at a less busy time, but it is what it is. Chappell, what else is going on with you?
Recap Kickback. We're doing a lot over there. Chantel and I are still talking about I Love New York live on YouTube. So people can check that out by subscribing to our YouTube page, recapkickback.com/ youtube.com/@recapkickback. Gia and I just did a deep dive on the Vesepia Toweries game and the Marquesas for Gia's Bet on Black Substack series. So that's on there as well. Mari and I just talked about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms over on Recap Kickback. We got a Welcome to Derry coverage over there. I think Jason Reed's going to join us for Cross. So a lot of content, but you can subscribe to the podcast, recapkickback.com/subscribe.
Okay. And then, of course, we are going to talk about House of Villains. Season 3 is here, not ending after season 3. I don't think House of Villains. What about Sinatra for House of Villains season 4?
She needs to die before then. I don't know what the filming schedule is like, but if we can get this lady packed up and out of here, let's keep it cute, y'all. See, we got one more season. I expect her to make it through season 2, but if that lady makes it through season 3, something's wrong.
Don't forget about Club Condo. Chappell and I are going to be talking about everything going on in the world of Survivor, which also had a 3-hour premiere this week. So look for that on Monday over on the RHAP Patreon. We are so excited to be back. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say in the comments. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.